Meeting of the cultural plan to order at 4:34 p.m. on Thursday, the 26th of March. So the first order of business is we're going to approve the minutes from the last meeting. If we could all take a peek at that. I hope everybody has had an opportunity to.
Chair,
Yes.
I motion we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Can I get a second? Oh. It's been moved and seconded, so the minutes are approved. Okay, so moving right along. Where's mine? Is Martine coming?
She is. She's gonna be a little late. She's running from the meeting.
Okay. So we're gonna start with our briefing items, review and discuss. Well, wait a minute. Are you gonna do it, Glenn?
Mhm.
Okay. Review and discussion regarding revised and restated Dallas Cultural Plan 2018 draft. And Glenn Ayers will, in lieu of our director being here, Glenn Ayers, the assistant director, will present this information to us.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Meek. I will present the draft document that we have for you. Martine is running behind from another meeting, so she'll be here shortly to do her part as well. But we have for you today, from our conversations last month at our meeting, a revised executive summary and fact sheet. Very no frills, right? Just the actual copy and text itself. And so we sent those out, I think, on Tuesday, hopefully to give you a chance to review so we can discuss, have any feedback, notes, other information you'd like to be included, that kind of thing. And then we will bring that back in May, and we'll go through this timeline in a little bit as well. But today is the day that we will look through and discuss. So next, let's talk about the executive summary. So this was the bulleted list that we presented last month to this committee to make sure we're on alignment of the content of what we wanted to see in that executive summary. And so I've included that bullet list if you're looking at the actual draft on page 1 of 6. And then if we move to pages 2 through 4 are that draft copy. And so we'll see this sort of introductory information along with the timeline and contextual information as to a revised and restated plan in this sort of first section here, under the title, A Collective Vision for the Future of Dallas Arts and Culture. And so we're not pulling it up on the screen per se, which we absolutely can if you'd like to do it that way, but because I've printed copies for you to review there, if that's helpful. Commissioner Curiel, would you like us to pull up the document on the WebEx, or do you have it in front of you to review with us?
Can't hear you.
I believe I have it. I'm just looking.
Great.
We can share it online if Commissioner Curiel, if that's easier.
Either way is fine. Yeah. Yes, go ahead and share it online. I had to join from my browser instead of my app.
Great. So like I said, we'll see in this section, and I'm not really sure what other way other than to kind of read through it and see how it sounds to everyone. We're going to be looking at our introductory information, purpose of a cultural plan, the engagement and creation of the plan, priorities, outcomes, again, and then we'll look at timeline and the contextual information. Everything that you see underlined is sourced from the 2018 plan as approved back in November 2018. So a collective vision for the future of Dallas arts and culture. We'll see in this first section that we call out, because from what I could glean from the committee, that we still wanted to understand what it was and then what it is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on November 28, City Council unanimously adopted the Dallas Cultural Plan and Cultural Policy, establishing a strategic framework to guide the growth and advancement of arts and culture throughout the city. Developed through an extensive community engagement process that included more than 9,000 Dallas residents and over 150 public meetings, committee discussion, and task force sessions, the Dallas Cultural Plan reflects the shared vision of Dallas's vibrant cultural and artistic community. Again, this part, next part, sourced directly from the cultural plan. 6 priorities emerged, which were overwhelmingly confirmed as crucial to achieving Dallas's vision for arts and culture, and that was equity, diversity, space, support for artists, sustainable arts ecosystem, and communication. Through these strategies in this cultural plan, artists and neighborhoods will be supported in new ways as
Question
Yes.
for the chair. Are you going to verbatim read this whole
I am.
thing?
I'm happy to not. I just was
I would like to suggest that you don't.
Great.
Because I think we can read it.
okay.
But
Wait,
but if you
we
would
gotta-
just highlight only the changes.
Great. Okay.
Oh, okay. That's just a suggestion. If
Well, we're supposed to be discussing these, so we really
Yes.
gotta hear him, don't you think? I
but
mean,
he's going to verbatim read things that have been.
Read through it, then we can ask Glenn specific
well,
questions.
then everybody needs to read it now. Because this meeting is when we're supposed to get this done. So
Yeah.
let's read it now,
Okay.
And-
Okay.
figure out what we're doing. We're not supposed to leave this meeting without having gone through this and making our
Pardon?
suggestions of where we go from here.
Pardon that interruption.
Okay.
And the key being here, Glenn, that the underline is copy preserved from the.
From the original.
plan.
That is correct. That is correct. So anything not underlined is something that we have drafted sort of afresh and
Then-
new.
And
Could we limit our,
Time to ask questions if we have questions.
Indeed.
Yes,
After we.
after we go
Sure.
into this.
Yes, I will.
So why don't
Read
I,
the
why don't we all read all of this text that is for us to make some decisions about today? And then we can discuss it. And I'm assuming that you feel comfortable that you know all of these things, and you're
Well,
familiar with them, and therefore you know what's been changed.
I was suggesting that we don't backtrack over things and only go, because we've agreed as to what would be changed. And then if we could just go through those changes as opposed to go through everything that, including what we,
So how about I point out then what from this bulleted list earlier, where we're inputting these topics of the draft, right? We have introductory information, the purpose, engagement, priorities, right? And I'll point those out where those exist in this document.
yes,
Um,
that's fine with me if it's fine with the chair.
I'm confused of what you're doing now.
um,
You're gonna do what?
So basically what I was going to say is in this bulleted list on that first page, right, this one right here.
Revise check? We're gonna look at this?
That's the fact sheet. This first part is the executive summary.
So what are you getting ready to do with the executive summary?
I'm instead of reading verbatim, I can sort of point out like, oh, this section is going to talk about this. This is where we're talking about these
Okay.
different portions. And as y'all read yourselves, you can ask questions from that.
Okay,
I defer to what you would like.
okay. So
Okay, so yes, this underlined section verbatim from the cultural plan as it was passed in 2018. And then we move into the context, the contextual information, right? And so this is where we're talking about, and we're centering around what the city was called to do by council via direction to the city manager, right? And we also address why that happened, but really centering ourselves around the resolution that was passed on June 25th to call us upon that work, right? So we'll see at the bottom of page 2, where we have on June 25, 2025, City Council authorized the city manager via that resolution. It was in necessary response to the president's executive orders. We call out the convening of a citywide federal compliance task force to review our programs, outline the executive order, right? The specific executive order, and the title of that executive order, and ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. And then the result of that, as such, we cannot operate programs that promote and advance DEI ideology in violation of federal anti-discrimination laws. I'm now on page 3 at the top. And so as a result, we'll see the Dallas Cultural Plan and Policy were updated and revised to maintain continued compliance. And then we have that sort of resulting document and continued call to action, right? Which is the cultural plan now presented as a revised and restated version of the amended plan approved by Dallas City Council on December 10, 2025 to maintain continued compliance. All right. And so we move into that next section, sort of this broader, sorry, I probably jumped the gun a little bit, but continued call to action, right? So this is where we're going to call out those 4 priorities, right? And so that we're committed to continue the work on the priorities of space, support for artists, a sustainable arts ecosystem, and communication. This plan and the engagement made to create it continues to serve as the city's guiding framework and our collective call to celebrate and support the creativity, collaboration, and resilience of Dallas's dynamic arts community for all residents and visitors, right? So this is our continued call to action based off of the work that was done and still, right, and still calls us to move. And then we have our updated vision and mission statements. Yeah, so that is the executive summary.
That's all.
Clyde, yes.
Thanks, Glenn. I have a question specifically regarding the what happened language between the bottom of page 2
Mhm.
and the top of page 3, right?
Yes.
So obviously that paragraph, that first bottom, I'm sorry, the second to last paragraph at the bottom is on June 25th.
Mhm.
And then the sort of last paragraph is in the summer of 2025. You address the outlined executive order 14173, ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity, right? Which is at the top of page 3.
Yes.
The following sentence, as such, the city cannot operate programs that promote or advance DEI ideology, so on and so forth. Is that sentence necessary, or can we, consider deleting it and going from restoring merit-based opportunity to then the subsequent sentence being thus the Dallas Cultural Plan and policy were updated and revised to maintain continued compliance?
Yes, so that
That's
is
what we're,
very
that's
great.
exactly what we're doing.
Yes, and so,
But can we delete that sentence?
Sure.
yeah, so starting where?
Right.
As such, the city cannot.
Got
Let's
it.
focus on what we are doing versus what we are
Fabulous,
not doing.
fabulous.
That's exactly.
That would be a suggestion.
Focus on, yes, what we are doing.
So thus. So
The
you
Dallas
say
Cultural
thus,
Plan
the
and
Dallas
policy.
Cultural Plan were updated to be, this eliminate that whole.
Right.
situation.
And revised
I see,
to
I see, yes.
Maintain continued compliance.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, understanding that the severity of this copy seems intense. And so, yes, that's a wonderful way to reframe, and I appreciate that.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
So the resolution,
Tamitha, Commissioner Curiel, you have your hand up?
It was just to say I would like the exact same thing. Thank you.
Okay, well, that will be done, shall be done.
Wonderful.
Okay,
I appreciate that.
yes.
I'd just like to note that our director and another committee member just walked in. Do we need to recap for them? What just happened?
You need to recap to me, I was in the vestibule.
Oh, okay.
Just trying to catch up.
Yeah,
Okay, because that was a pretty significant, the only reason I-
Harry Hines, Oakland, all were like backed up for like a mile.
the only reason I said that is because that's a pretty significant deletion. So, but if y'all, if y'all are okay.
we're looking at the revised language for the cultural plan moving forward. It's this, Jack, it's the draft revised executive summary.
That's it.
You got it? Okay, and so we were on page 2, we went into the page 3 language and eliminated, Clyde Valentine suggested that we eliminate the as such sentence in order not to talk about the negative, but to talk about the positive of what we will be doing. So we're eliminating that and saying, thus the Dallas Cultural Plan and policy were updated and revised to maintain continued compliance. So we're not.
I think it's a great idea.
Of course it is.
Wonderful. Naturally.
All right, moving right along.
All right. And so Any other comments as to the sort of revised executive summary draft, our continued call to action, vision and mission? Yep.
Okay. That all looks good.
Okay. All right. If that's the case, we can, and by all means, if there's other thoughts and things like that that come up later,
We'll
please
pass
email
them on to you.
and we can certainly work on that. All right, so that moves us then to page 4, 5, and 6. So page 4 brings us to that same sort of situation where we're looking at the bulleted list from last meeting to make sure that we're all on the same page of the content. So the fact sheet has our what, who, and where, the 4 priorities and their descriptions, and then what is in the plan. And again, underlying text is sourced from the cultural plan as was approved back in 2018. And so much of this is sourced from the plan from 2018. So if we're looking at page 5, under what, the Dallas Office of Arts and Culture has revised and restated the Dallas Cultural Plan and continues the city's and its collaborators' work to, and we have our bulleted list here, right? Engage local artists, explore ways to strengthen, understand the aspirations, suggest ways to incorporate tactics, and provide the vision implementation strategies.
And again, Glenn, to reiterate, the underlined portions of this copy already exists in the cultural.
Verbatim, correct.
Thanks.
Flipped it directly from there.
And then we have our who, right? Because the fact sheet is very, right? We have our who, over 9,000 residents engaged with the cultural planning process. Thank you to all participants. We have our cultural ecosystem, and under that section was that cultural plan ecosystem map. It's a graphic map. And so I just put that in brackets there. We'll use that same graphic. 4 priorities instead of 6. And then same, are crucial for Dallas to realize its vision for arts and culture in Dallas. Space, support for artists, sustainable arts ecosystem, communication are all the same definitions. What is the plan? The only difference here is that first bullet, distribute citywide resources. I believe it used to say equitably, and so instead we've said across the city,
Very
the
good
entire
at
city.
getting around that.
Yeah. Sure, right? Everything else is the same. Okay, now this one, while all of this comes directly from, there is the omission of equity and diversity in the listing of our priorities, right? So all of this copy is the same, that they overwhelmingly strongly agreed that space, support for artists, sustainable arts, ecosystem, and communication, right? So all that's omitted there is the equity diversity as a part of this particular revision. I just didn't know how to, I could have done a cross out, but if we're looking at what actual copy we would like to see in.
Okay.
Any comments? And then that chart of percent of activation, same chart, we'll just remove the 2 bars of equity diversity from there.
And I would just share.
Okay, strong. Yes.
I would just like to comment that by deleting the words equity and diversity, we're doing that to correct the language, but we're substituting in context the fact that we are supporting all of the residents and all visitors of the city. So that's kind of the.
That's what I said. Got around it.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't have to say the words. You do the work.
And so all of this copy reflects the fact that we are centering ourselves on those 4 priorities
In the entire city.
in the entire city,
There you go.
across the entire city.
It takes care of all that. Okay. As
Yes, sir.
I've always said.
May I ask a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Curriel, please do. Go ahead.
Does that still give us, does that still allow us to use the topography map for zip codes? The
It
language?
does.
Well,
It-
because
Okay.
we're saying the entire city, we have to know something about all the zip codes. Don't
So
we?
we still get to use it. I'm just asking because,
I know.
asking. So we get to use it. It's still applicable in this setting. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for that question. If I can sort of explain a little bit more in our review of the cultural plan, and when we talked in our first and I think our second meeting, what is still in the plan and in consideration, the section for the typology map and its creation, the metrics used for that were not racially or they did not use race or ethnicity as a means of metrics to create that map. It was about essentially cultural.
Underserved areas.
Yeah, and sort of cultural deserts or the concentration of arts and culture events
Right.
and historic support from the office. And so, yeah, which was
Right,
which is
because
great.
if you remember too, Commissioner Curiel, it also included certain parts of far north Dallas because they are cultural deserts as well. And they certainly would not be considered, ethnically specific places. So we were looking at it more from the standpoint of where are the underserved areas in the city for culture.
I guess my concern was that if we had to take out the word equity, that even when we were talking about zip codes and equity, that they might not allow it, but because I feel like we've used the language across Dallas, then that makes it allowable. But I was double checking, but thank you for clarifying.
So location-based factors, socioeconomic and location-based factors of any given resident we can still take that into consideration when it comes to how we distribute our resources.
I'm sorry, I'll yield to Commissioner Valentine.
I have a logistical question, not necessarily on the editing, so I'll just defer until we can jump to that part.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify for our record and comment that I'm very pleased that our staff and this committee has obtained a race neutral basis for compliance with the executive order, and at the same time making sure that we fulfill the efforts for all of the residents and all of the citizens.
Thank you.
Commissioner Valentine, did you have something else to add?
Yes, so this is just sort of a little bit of a jump ahead, but curious in terms of, staff support. You now have the files to the final report.
Yes.
It looks like the fact-based sheets, there isn't going to be a huge word copy difference. So I'm just, that I'm guessing is going to be easier than maybe the executive summary, but are there any needs around the design for these pages that are being changed or edited rather?
I will let you know once we get there. Thank you for that. That's it.
Okay.
That is our executive summary and fact sheet as staff has presented to you in this draft.
It's a good summary. I think we've come to something that we can live with and not feel like we need to slit our wrists. I think you've done a very good job
Thank you. I appreciate
Keeping
that.
on the upper side.
One more question then.
Commissioner Valentine.
Thank you, Chair. Again, to the staff, timing wise, is it still useful to consider feedback from Joy? Want to lay it out first into the document? When would you like, if still, that reflection opportunity with one of the principal authors?
Well, I think that as we are looking at moving forward, that we should probably wait until this is all finalized in terms of what this part of the amended cultural plan looks like, and then share that with Joy, because what we know is that nothing's going to change dramatically before we start talking about another plan. So we're still going to be under these same, compliance guidelines. But I think that would be useful for her to see what we're working with moving forward, especially since she was involved in the original plan. Do you disagree?
I agree that we should.
Okay. Okay.
So if I may then, to that point, we have our timeline and next steps pulled up. It's March, right? Oh, God. Okay, yeah.
March is
Still
over.
March.
March is over.
It's gone.
March is
It's
done.
gone.
We're done.
It's
April's
gone.
on the doorstep.
But here we are, staff presents revised and restated draft to the committee, our executive summary specifically in fact sheet. And what we will I believe attempt to do is have the full document ready for revision and for review to this body in April.
Okay.
And then we will take that pending recommendation by this committee to a vote for recommendation by the commission in May.
Okay.
So to that point, with Joy, is it this committee's will to have her or try to attempt to get her in April?
So now just
So could-
those two things together and follow up.
Okay,
Okay, there you go. I was gonna ask you that.
wonderful. All right, so we will work on that. Coordinate.
Okay, very good.
What's next?
Well, updates and announcements.
Yes, so if I can, we specifically to make sure that we had the time and dedication to this document itself, we decided not to include future planning for like the new cultural plan part, because we wanted to really make sure we were ready to go on this. And actually that could very well be a great thing to bring up with Joy in this next meeting. Sorry,
No,
Chair.
that is good. So updates from me, I don't have any regarding this committee. You know, we're just going to keep moving forward and get this done so that we can have the final document that we'll be continue to work with towards the end of its life, and then have something to talk to Joy about when we do finally meet with her. That's it. I mean, Director Philippe, do you have some updates on staff? It says here staff updates.
I don't have any staff updates in terms of like new announcements. However, I do want to acknowledge a request on the record that came from Commissioner Dr. Jackson. She noticed a lot of new faces today and expressed that she would like for the commission to be more regularly introduced to some of our staff members who you wouldn't naturally see in this setting. And so we will flesh out a way either, you know, by division of our department to have them come forward on some upcoming ACAC agendas so that you
We
can
should
meet
have a
full
couple.
teams. Well, no, because then you'll be a walking quorum. You can't party with y'all, but we can engage with y'all on the record. So we'll build that in. I'll meet with Chair Small in our next planning meeting and see how we can build that into a cadence so that you can meet the department by division.
Okay.
As we were discussing the timeline, at some point, I remember at the last meeting, we were discussing how we were going to go about the community engagement. Is that something that we, do we want to push that down the road?
I thought we said that we were gonna not worry about that until we started talking about the next plan.
So, okay,
That's not,
All right.
that's not involved in, these changes don't have anything to do with
but-
community engagement, so.
but after we finish this, at some point, we have to have everything, you know, approved and finalized. And do we not want any sort of engagement in that
I don't
process?
think so. I mean, they've
Okay.
approved this plan originally, and the changes that we're making, nothing can be done about that. I mean, what I'm saying is that the
Okay.
community can't come in and say, we want DEI put back in. You know, we can't do that. We know that. So this is not to me, this is a revision of a plan that was already approved. Next time we will engage community is when we start talking about a second iteration of a plan.
If I may,
Yes.
you know, on behalf of the staff, I think it would behoove us out of respect to maybe engagement isn't the best word, but at least host an event that will bring awareness to
Awareness
what's
is good.
finalized, especially
Engagement.
especially because so many folks contributed their time and talent to the initial doc. Given the process, it would be wise for us to, at the very least, like we did for the grant compliance sessions, do the same and simply, you know, invite folks to come back here, perhaps to the black box, and let them know where we landed following our work from last summer. Not, you know, unfortunately, not to seek input at that point, but to simply make them aware.
Okay, awareness. I think awareness is good. I would just hesitate to talk about engagement, which is a whole different
Okay.
thing.
I think that's great. That's great.
I just want to say,
Commissioner Bunning?
I just want to say right off the bat, I think with everything that came down right before all the grants hit, and then the staff, this committee, everybody that was involved did a great job at changing the language just enough to comply and kept checks moving, number one. And now I think this is really good to keep things moving without any interruption and which is the whole idea. We can worry about the bigger picture a little bit further down the road as we go to a new plan or whatever changes above us. But I think this is really, everybody did such a great job on this because it's so tricky. And I think it covers a lot of the bases without saying DEI.
Mhm.
Covers the same stuff. All right.
Jamel.
I have my hand up. I just before
I'm
we.
sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying to finish what Commissioner Benning was saying. So, okay, Commissioner Curiel, go ahead.
I just wanted to say what you said earlier about the difference between engagement and then what's happening here. I just think that's really vitally important to clarify. You know what I'm saying? Because that at that meeting that we're not creating the new plan. Just to clarify for folks who might not really understand what's happening here. So this is
Yes.
the vision of the old plan. When we create a new plan, then we'll begin that engagement again. I just is so
Right.
clear.
Yes, that is what I'm assuming when we do whatever happens to make the public aware that this is where the plan landed, that we would make it clear that this is a time for people to hear these revisions. We will be engaging community again when we come to the point of talking about moving forward with a new plan. So I think that, I mean, I agree with you, Commissioner Curiel. We need to be sure that that is crystal clear when we have whatever we end up having in the way of a public announcement. Okay. Okay, I think that's the extent of what we have to discuss today. Will you, Glenn, will you be getting back with us regarding the April date that will be? It would help if I took the glasses off that are only needed for reading. Okay, all right, April 30th. Okay, so April 30th is, oh, that's pushing it really tight, isn't it? Aren't we supposed to be talking to, when are we talking to Joy?
It would be April 30.
Oh, okay, you would talk to her on April 30th and then everything would be put together for the May meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Clyde, you got that date in terms of asking Joy if she's available? Okay. Very good. All right, so are there any other comments that need to be made by the committee? Commissioner Curiel, do you still have things to say? Okay. Director, are we, no, okay. All right, there being all business concluded for today's meeting, I call this meeting adjourned. Look forward to seeing you all in April.
5:06 p.m.